like and subscribe. Now, what is an adult problem that nobody prepared you for? Having to not only make important decisions by myself, I expected that much, but also having to do so in a timely fashion uninhibited by indecision. The death of the elder family and your rising name on that list. I was just ruminating earlier today with my station. It feels like I was 20 just yesterday, but then suddenly I have an adult daughter. I've buried grandparents and a parent, and now more voices turn to me than I can turn to myself. Deciding what's for dinner every night for the rest of my life. Wait until you hear about 2 other meals that exist in the day. Vegetables die too soon in the fridge. Put the veggies in a sealed container with a piece of paper towel on top of them. The paper towel absorbs moisture and you'll get several extra days before the veggies go bad. The realization that $1,000 is not a lot of money to have, but it is a lot of money to owe someone. It's like calories. 1,000 extra calories is easy to eat in one day. Cutting 1,000 calories from your day on the other hand. The inevitability of your parents dying. My dad just passed away and I'm 25. No one could have prepared me, I guess. I feel you. Mine passed away back in August when I was 28. There's nothing you can do to prepare for it, and I'm afraid I have no magic words to make it better. Just know you're not alone. I'll never say it gets better, but it eventually starts to suck less and your hard days get a little less frequent. I'm so sorry. Back pain. Everything hurts. Aging parents. My defining moment of adulthood was standing in a room picking out my mother's casket. I was married with 2 kids by then, but this is the moment I truly felt like an adult. There's a dialogue in a Telugu movie that I saw. In that scene, an early 20s guy was telling his dad how his mom irritates him sometimes. At that point in the movie, the dad's mom was sorta missing. So, the dad says only until our parents die we can be children. When they die they take our childhood with them. That hit my dad pretty hard. He was newlywed when my grandfather died. I intellectually knew my parents were aging, but I recently walked face first into something that made me actually face it. My dad has always organized his garage to within an inch of its life. I went into his garage the other day and it was a disaster. I knew he had been diagnosed with some dementia, but I didn't see it until I actually saw it. God, that hit me like a truck. I'm so sorry. My dad died. No one preps you for that. It's crazy how you grow up thinking they're your world, and then life goes on. This one has really hit me several times in the last decade or so. Just looking at your folks and being struck by how much they now look like your grandparents used to. The last time I stopped home I realized that both of my parents now use canes to support their mobility. I knew they were aging, and I knew they each had different knee problems in the recent past. But I hadn't seen them in person in a while, so I had no idea. It was pretty sobering. They keep repeating the things and you have to be patient while being enthusiastic when listening. When my elderly mom does this, I remind myself that there is a day coming where I would give anything in the world to hear one of these repeated stories again. The incessant flow of bills, phone, water, electricity, insurance, rent, mortgage, also college debt, and dental care. Kurt Vonnegut had it right when he said the trouble with getting older is you outlive your teeth. Even if you take perfect care of your teeth, every time you chew you're grinding your teeth together and a tiny bit gets worn off. If we ever figure out immortality, one of the side issues will be that around the age of 100 you'll need to go in and have all your teeth removed and implants installed. Even worse, they'll eventually need to replace the cartilage in every joint in your body. Either that or find some way of making cartilage heal. When to call a repairman and when you can amateurly fix it yourself. When to know a tradesman, plumber, auto mechanic, dentist, etc. is scamming you or actually doing their job. You wanna give them the professional benefit of the doubt too. But happens all the time. Do I really have to be a Renaissance man in order to properly vet someone to do what they say they are gonna do? For me it's a time cost balancing act. My sprinkler system was acting up, so I looked it up on YouTube and found the parts. Parts were $60. Then I realized I'd need special tools for this one time and the thing needed to be rewired. When I got a quote for $200 to fix it, I realized that was the better deal rather than paying close to $100 for materials. My whole afternoon plus the chance of me screwing it up and getting upset. What's my time and hassle worth factored into my true cost? Sometimes it pays to DIY. Sometimes calling a pro makes more sense. We have an electrician we trust who's done great work for us in the past. We asked for a quote from them to replace the fan in our bathroom since the one there was squeaky and dying. They quoted it at $900. We bought the replacement fan for $50 and installing it ourselves took less than an hour, including deep cleaning all the relevant surfaces. Being sick and having to care for yourself, like when you were younger your parents would get the medicine, or the medicine cabinet would just be stocked all the time, etc. But here I am with a cold having to build up the energy to go to the supermarket to buy some aspirin and throat lozenges all by myself. Some of the worst moments of my adult life have been coming down with, for example, norovirus and realizing no one is magically coming to take over caring for my children. Vomiting so hard you feel like you're gonna die. Yeah, the kids still need feeding, changing, saving from their latest suicide mission, etc. I once had a stomach bug at the same time my baby did. He couldn't walk yet, just crawl. I was so weak. I just crawled with him. We spent the whole day crawling to the bathroom to vomit diarrhea, then lay on the cool floor for a bit, then crawl to his bedroom to change diarrhea diaper, then back again. It was not a good time. Make yourself a sick day kit, a fun lunchbox or whatever, with aspirin, chicken soup, a little book, vitamin C, whatever stuff you do that comforts you when you're sick. You may not have a friend to come help you, but past you can be sick yow's current friend. How much time you spend just doing stuff. Oh, need to replace my tire and that's over by the store. So while I replace the tire I can do some errands and I'll save time and be home in no time. 3 hours later, okay, just one more errand before I head home. Also, how putting off a small task just a couple days in a row can quickly amount to longer chore responsibility later. I can just leave this in the sink. Get to it later before bed. X 2 days. Why is this grime caked onto this plate still? I've been scrubbing for 10 minutes straight. And when you have free time to do something fun, you're too mentally exhausted from doing all the things you have to do that you waste free time half watching TV and half scrolling through Reddit. My parents took my kids for an overnight last week for the first time in over a year. I finally had a night off to do whatever I wanted. I fell asleep on the couch. Careers. As a kid you hear what do you want to be when you grow up, and it's always nurse, doctor, fireman, game designer, etc. Which is also simple, but then when you do start training working in that career and you realize you don't like it, it just feels like such a terrifying thing to now have to think of a new career identity. I'm pretty sure most of us spend a lot of time working through this crap. My career isn't viable. What do? And come to the conclusion that yeah, it actually does make you more sane working in a shop or whatever, than going home at night having paid the bills and not stressing. It's the realization that really takes time. I missed my calling. Still don't know what it is though. It's tragic. Why can't I be an archaeologist and have a financially stable life? You're an archaeologist, and you're surprised your career lies in ruins? The endless cleaning. I had chores when I was a kid, but I had zero clue how much actual work went into keeping house. I cleaned my house this morning and by midweek it'll be a war zone of pet hair, crumbs, and dust. I don't even have kids. WTF, it's like the underpants gnomes show up when I'm asleep and F my house up. When I was a kid I thought people who hired maids were lazy, but I understand now. If I had the money I would hire a maid. My kitchen sink only stays clean for a couple of hours, then it's full of dirty dishes again. It's so frustrating how a completely clean kitchen only stays that way for like half a day. It's a never-ending mess in there. Upvote solely for underpants gnomes. But yeah, it's crazy to think how dirty your house gets when you're not even there half the time. The combo between lack of income and plenty of debt, and the random expenses that spring up just when you're finally getting money put away. Your savings account finally looking decent? Congratulations. Your car just died and you need a new one. Also, your bathroom has a mold issue that will cost thousands to fix. Bye bye savings. That's exactly what happened to me. I finally was saving money and then in the course of 2 weeks I lost my job, blew 2 tires at once, discovered I have 3 herniated discs in my back with a very expensive non-surgical treatment. My savings are gone again. There always seems to be something. Read budgeting advice online and everything is like spend less on coffee and eat out less. but my reality is spend less on groceries to try and save up and snap the garage door spring brakes or car insurance jumps because of a big hailstorm last year, or hey, you've now got travel expenses because a relative the next state over died and you have to drive there and lose a day of work. It's relatively easy for me to get a less expensive phone plan, not order pizza, and plan out my fixed monthly payments. But it's hard to get ahead of the sheer number of random fairly large expenses that pop up. All the laundry, good grief does it pile up. This is how I feel about the dishes. I will never live anywhere without a dishwasher again. I run one load a day. Where they all come from, I have no idea, but dishes never stop. A lack of community. Growing up you have your elementary school. Each day you see your friends and participate in activities together. Sometimes they move away and sometimes you do, but it largely stays the same through high school and middle school. Flash forward to adulthood and you're just alone. You want to make friends IRL, but have no idea how to go about doing it without seeming creepy, desperate, or God knows what. This is really hard when you are not overtly religious, so you cannot join a religious community. My friend and I talk about this from time to time. It's arguably the hardest thing to deal with in life. It gets worse the longer you live. As you know, you are outliving your generation. My grandma wasn't religious. She went to church just to meet people. She had an amazing social circle because of it. The most social older ladies I know do extracurriculars. My aunt is in a choir and my neighbor sails competitively. It helps a lot. You telling me I gotta make food every day, often multiple times a day just to stay alive? I've been putting off going to the grocery store to get some ingredients all week, because I'm a lazy F and I live out in the country. I heard a piece of a radio show on the future past how things have evolved when it comes to sustenance, feeding ourselves. How women in the late 1800s used to spend 8 hours a day just cooking, and I thought, holy no. No. At first I was thinking that sounded insane. But women in the late 1800s all had like 50 kids and no refrigerators, so I guess it makes sense that they had to make huge meals every day. Controlling your finances. Everything I have learned about budgeting, debt recovery, pensions, saving, and wise purchases I have had to learn for myself. That all those big things you thought you'd have time to do when you're older often become physically impossible to do when you're older, even if you have the time. You can go days on end without having to speak to a single person. At first it's a dream come true. After about 2 months you start talking to your toaster to pad the silence while waiting for your toast. Making important life decisions. When you're young you have a safety net, but when you're an adult you're taking on risk that can influence successive years of your life. Same goes for single vs family. It was a small thing, but today I called my dad to tell him I left a business that was tearing me down, and his response was, "I'm so proud of you for sticking up for yourself and leaving a bad situation." He has always been the one to tell me this is bad, but it's your decision, and I'm proud of myself too for leaving that place. No one helping you. No one helping you is one thing. I am always amazed at the effort people will go through to steal from you or screw you over. Basic home maintenance, when to change air filters, smoke alarm batteries, timing of lawn care, how often do you clean the gutters, are you supposed to clean under the stove, what is edging, how do you recycle, how to change locks, etc. Not to mention the random costs that spring up. Trying to save up money? Good for you. Except your sink just sprung a leak, so you need to pay a plumber to fix that. Now you can save money again. Nope. Car needs servicing. Okay, your can definitely save money now. Wait, that leaky sink sprouted mold, so now your bathroom needs to be gutted and redone. I usually just go to the Google. Let's see, what is edging? That went sideways. What is landscaping edging? The mental load of remembering everything that needs to be done, and project managing it all. House repairs, improvements, finances, cleaning, laundry, bills, hiring people to do things, trips to the vet for vaccines, groceries, car maintenance, and the list goes on. It takes up too much room in my head. I'm just gonna reply here to all the people saying use a calendar or journal. I've explained that I already use a calendar for almost things in another comment. I'd describe myself as a highly organized person. I have to be at my job and that crosses over into my personal life. I'm not actively trying to remember things only in my head only to complain about it on Reddit. Just because I've written something in a calendar does not mean that this thing or task no longer takes up room in my head. And that's the point of my response to OP. It continues to take up that room due to the anxiety of actually getting it done. It's also impossible to write down every little thing that needs to be done, because frankly I'd spend more time writing in my calendar than actually getting done. Additionally, the list doesn't cover things that crop up at the time. For example, you've planned to clean say the bedroom tonight, and find something that belongs in another room, so go there to tidy it away only to discover something else that needs done. We cannot write down every little thing. I get where you're coming from. I'm super organized, like obsessively organized. I've kept planners for as long as I can remember. We have a family board where we can see our weekly schedule. I'm on top of it all. I've got it all down, and I get it all done. That doesn't prevent any of it from being a mental load. Just the act of keeping it all planned, organized and balanced is still mentally taxing, no matter how on top of it you are. I have to-do lists. I have a yearly list, monthly list, weekly list, daily list, and they never get smaller. Every time I have something I can cross off the list, something else comes along that needs to be added. It never ends. And then, like you said, things pop up out of nowhere. Running a household, working, going to school, taking care of kids, pets, the spouse, cars, yards, appointments, meal planning, managing birthdays and holidays, and having to consider extended family in birthdays and holidays. My mind rarely gets a break. Even when I'm trying to relax, I'm often going over in my head what still needs to get done. And I'm not complaining. I love my life. I love being a mom. Like I said, I'm super organized and I often thrive on the challenge of seeing how efficient I can be, and I don't mind being busy. But, yes, the sheer amount of brain space it all requires, and the constant need to be planning and thinking 2 steps ahead, was something I was not prepared for before becoming an adult. And there are moments where I do wonder what it would be like to put it all on someone else while I spend my days alternating between naps and video games. This 100%. I hate all these comments saying to get a planner, set calendar reminders, have a routine. Of course you know all these things and probably have them already set. The question is not how to solve these adult problems. It is about what adult problems are difficult. The mental load is ridiculously high for modern society. My point is, I do all the right too. But just organizing and tackling stuff in home life is exhausting when you do it 40+ hours per week for work already. You are not alone. I own a business that recently took off and I find that I can either have a very structured and organized domestic life or a very structured and organized business life. But I cannot have both. I just can't. I don't have the brain space to do it all. It's impossible. I'm an author, so when I start writing a book and then finally finish, it takes me about 1.5 months. My whole house is a goddamn disaster. Then I have to spend the next 2 weeks getting it all in order, only to start another book and do it all over again. It kills me. How much harder it is to make friends. I kinda feel like if you hadn't already made some good friends by 25-26, you'll end up stuck with superficial friendships. Yep, I see my superficial friends hanging out with their best friends and I noticed that almost every single one of them had known each other since birth, elementary, middle, high school. The few that didn't know each other from that knew each other from college or the military. I didn't have the luxury of making friends during those years, and I'm here in my mid-30s now trying to make and maintain friendships. But it seems like everyone else's best friend slot has already been filled. I met my closest friend when I was 36 years old. I would punch a bear for that woman. How much every injury you had as a kid didn't really heal. It just lay dormant until you woke up on your 38th birthday. Now it hurts all the time. I turned 38 in 2 months. Are all of my broken bones going to come back to haunt me? Kinda. I mean, I had several car accidents as a young man. Fully recovered. No lasting damage. But now 20 years later my neck hurts. Pretty much all the time. had x-rays, see a chiropractor. I do stretches and exercises for it. It's just not right. It's damage from whiplash as a kid. Not much to be done about it. Wear your seatbelt and drive safe, kids. I busted the cartilage in my knee as a tween, and if I have a bad day now, it's just like here. Random clicking and locking of your limb plus the random back pain of you slept funny on your mattress. I used to be able to sleep on floors and other things, but now it's like the mattress is 1/10th of an inch away from the edge. Now you wake up with back pain. How depressing and mundane working 40+ hours per week for 30+ years is. Having to figure out what to eat 3 times a day. F that. Just eat twice. For real, I used to just not eat because I didn't know what to have, or I didn't feel like cooking just for me. Kids change that quick. They aren't cool with just not eating. I'm still confused AF. I thought adults had their sh together. Literally everyone is just pretending to have their sh together. Human lives are held together with duct tape. The existential horror of being in a dead-end job with a horrible boss but can't afford to quit because you'll starve. I just recently quit my unfulfilling job after working there for almost 3 years. Had a little saved up to help support myself until I find a job I enjoy more. How's it going so far? Being absolutely exhausted most of the time. I never thought I'd be the I hate everyone guy, but I am, and everyone can FCK off. We all become Squidward after hitting a certain age. You either die a SpongeBob or live long enough to become a Squidward. Me? I'm Patrick. F your at race. How hard it is to make peep friends. Don't even get me started on relationships. Yay, seriously. I still have 1 or 2 close friends in different states that I barely even talk to. Other than my wife and my kids, I've got no friends. Don't even have video game friends anymore. I'm not sad or lonely or anything. Just kinda miss that part of my life. Making friends as an adult is so difficult. Keeping old friends during different stages in life, also difficult. Keeping up with good friends while juggling family, work, self-care, also difficult. Being tired all the effing time. Chronic back pain with no drugs that can help. A lot of people find lifting weights can help. I'll try that. How effing lonely you can be. I'm here for you. I mean, not really, but I'm also lonely. Hope that helps. How uneducated people are, like, the complete lack of reasoning and critical thinking is astonishing. You can't even have a proper conversation with some people because they make up their minds and the conversation is over. Office politics. My first employer was a young tech company. Aside from the big wigs, president, vice president, etc., the majority of the company was younger than 30, and it was a blast. Everyone got along usually. My current employer, most people are above 40s, and it is like high school drama all over again. So much political BS, and the majority of leaders act like entitled children. So much scapegoating and name blaming. So many fake people and relationships. I don't get it. I've noticed this too. It's always older people posturing and stirring sharp. Is it because of the more strict, old school typical office environment they were accustomed to? High school was teaching you that. I didn't learn a effing bean. Having to put up with so much crap from people in higher positions even though they're less competent than you. Because you need that paycheck, and as you get older, sometimes life circumstances trap you there. People still being bullies way past high school. Entering adulthood makes you realize that the reason kids are so cruel is because people in general are. Being sued by the guy who crashed into Emmy from behind. Wow. Okay, I had this happen to me. I was run off the road in the early morning by a truck that was in the wrong lane round a blind corner. My car rolled several times and ended up in the road. People stopped to help and everything. Then they ducked out of the way as a truck from the local electric company came around one of the Good Samaritan cars and barreled into my car on its side, spun us 270 degrees. Later the electric company tried suing me for damage to the truck they hit me with. I hope you sue them back.